television played in kitchens and sitting rooms across the country. Edward Mortimer sat in a leather chair, hands open, voice calm, performing. The chyron read, "Mortimer breaks silence. I am the target of a political vendetta." "What we are witnessing," he said, "is a prime minister who has been caught abusing her power." Meanwhile, Sid stands in her thermal top, arms folded tight across her chest, a mug of tea on the counter behind her. Her eyes are locked on the screen. She studies every micro movement, the stillness of his hands, the calculated calm. Nothing about his face suggests fear, and therefore everything about it confirms that he is. In the residence, Catherine stands alone in the semi-darkness of her sitting room, still in the blouse and trousers she wore all day. One lamp on, the same interview plays on the television mounted above the fireplace. Mortimer continues on both screens at once, and who is now attempting to drag the institutions of this country into the gutter with her. Sydney counts to 3 inside her head. She reaches out and kills the television with a sharp click. The flat falls into heavy silence, only the low hum of the city outside. Catherine keeps watching a moment longer, then slowly turns the TV off. The room goes quiet. She exhales once and closes her eyes. Her thumb finds the place where her wedding ring used to sit, spinning nothing. The same interview still echoing in their heads. 5 kilometers from Sid's flat, in a secure, government-leased room in Limehouse that contained nothing but a folding table, 2 chairs, a kettle, and nothing that could identify the man who was living there, Yefim Alexandrov watched the same interview on a laptop. He watched Mortimer's face. He listened to Mortimer's voice. He had heard that voice before, in recordings and in person, and he recognized the particular quality it had. Alexandrov closed the laptop. He sat for a moment in the quiet room, with the sounds of Limehouse going on outside the window, as though nothing in the world were at stake, and he thought about the drive inside his jacket. He had been told to wait. He had agreed to wait. The conditions that had made waiting sensible had now changed. He took out his phone and dialed a number he had not dialed before. "It's time," he said. "The final piece. Tell Mackenzie." He hung up. He took the drive from his jacket and held it in both hands, feeling its weight, which was negligible and enormous. Then he set it on the table, decision made, and went to put the kettle on. Vienna, 7:43 a.m. local time. Ben Mackenzie sat at a desk in a rented apartment 3 floors above the Ringstrasse, still in yesterday's shirt, the television on mute across the room. His phone was already in his hand. He tried Catherine's personal line first, voicemail. He tried the number 10 switchboard. He was told that the Prime Minister was unavailable for the foreseeable future. Her legal team had locked down all external contact during the active investigation. Outside the window, Vienna was going about its morning. Trams, coffee, a city that had been watching empires rise and fall for 500 years and had learned not to rush. Ben watched it for a moment. Then he dialed another number. It answered on the second ring. "It's Mackenzie," he said. "There's something I need to tell you, and something I need you to do." A pause on the line. Then a familiar voice came through. "Go ahead," Sid answered from her flat in London. He told her everything, not quickly, not the way he'd rehearsed it, properly. The lie he had been living inside for over a decade. He said it the way a man says something he has said 10,000 times, in the dark, to no one. Sid said nothing through most of it. When he finished, there was a silence on the line that felt different. Then he told her about Alexandrov, what he had and why it had to be her. Catherine had kept her clean. It was working. Sid's grip tightened on the phone. Silence stretched between the two cities. "Why not an official handoff?" Sid said. "Because official channels have a leak. Whoever burned Lensley is still inside. If this goes through any logged system, the drive disappears before it reaches Catherine." Silence on the line. Then, "I'll go tonight. Don't tell Catherine. She'll pull me out." Ben said nothing for a moment. "Be careful," he said. Then the line went dead. Sid cut the engine 2 streets short of the Limehouse Basin. Rain pattered on the cobbles. She'd taken the bike because it was faster, to cut through the city in ways a car couldn't. She walked the rest of the way, helmet under her arm, eyes moving. She knocked the exact pattern Ben had sent. The door opened almost instantly. Alexandrov stood in the half-light. "Come in." Sid stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind her. Alexandrov didn't waste time. He picked up the small drive from the table and held it between them. "This is the final piece," he said. "The agent used against Lensley. It came from the same batch Varga bought years ago. I have the chemical fingerprint, the payment record, and a voice recording of the man who ordered it." He placed the drive in her palm. Sid closed her fingers around it. "You've had this since Berlin. Why keep it back?" "Because in Berlin I had no leverage. I gave your government everything I had, and they tried to silence me anyway." He said it without inflection. "After that, I set up a check-in. Every morning at 9, I send a code. If I don't, it sends the archive to 12 news desks and 3 foreign agencies. They know that. That's why I'm still here." He nodded toward the drive. "What's on there is not just proof, it's a man. His name is Vadim Galanov. He was the chemist who sold the agent to Varga years ago. He's been hiding for 30 years, terrified that one day someone would find him." Sid's eyes stayed locked on his. "The drive contains his location," Alexandrov continued, "and the means to reach his family. He will not testify unless he knows they are safe. If his location or his family's names were released publicly, he would run. We would lose him forever. That is why the drive carries only the archive. Enough to name Mortimer, not enough to lose the only man who can stop him." Sid slipped the drive inside her jacket and zipped it. "Your Prime Minister stood in Parliament and named him. Ben told me Lensley named him directly. And last night I saw Mortimer on television, the same voice in the recording. That was the moment I knew. They can't protect him anymore." He looked at her for a long second. Sid gave one sharp nod. "Then I won't give him time." Outside, the drizzle had thickened into steady rain. She pulled on her helmet, straddled the bike, and opened the throttle. The Thames slid past on her left, pewter and dark. Rain streaked her visor. She was thinking about how close they finally were. She never saw the van. It came out of the service road without braking or signaling, closing the gap and slamming directly into the rear wheel of the bike at nearly 40 kilometers an hour. The wet curb caught the side of her helmet at the wrong angle. Then everything went white. The van didn't stop. It accelerated east into the side streets. Back on the embankment, Sid lay motionless on the rain-slicked road. Car horns began. Footsteps. Urgent voices. She tried to lift her hand toward the drive. Couldn't. Her eyes closed as the rain continued to fall on her visor. A figure moved through the gathering crowd. He crouched beside her long enough to appear helpful, slipped his hand inside her jacket, and in seconds the drive was gone.
He was already walking away when the first ambulance siren sounded.
The news had come at 8. Catherine was in the back of the black government car as it moved through the grey London morning, 2 motorcycle outriders flanking it. Outside, a small crowd of protesters lined the pavement near Whitehall, holding signs and chanting, their voices rising for a moment before fading behind the tinted windows. To the world, she was simply doing what a prime minister should do, visiting an official who had been injured in a hit and run, a gesture of concern, nothing more. She kept her hands folded neatly in her lap, spine straight, expression calm. Only the slight tension in her jaw betrayed anything at all. In the residence, barely an hour earlier, her private secretary had stood before her with the same careful neutrality he always wore when delivering difficult news. Park was in a road traffic incident on the embankment, he had said. Moderate concussion, she's at the hospital. Hit and run. Catherine had listened without moving. Now, as the car turned toward the hospital, she allowed herself one quiet, private thought. She asked for me. Catherine looked out at the passing buildings, her face unreadable to anyone who might have glanced through the darkened glass. To the public, this was duty. To her, it was something else entirely. When Catherine pushed the door open, the first thing she heard was the beep, then her own breath, then nothing else. Sid lay in the bed, breathing shallow and careful. Bruises were already forming along her ribs and side where she had hit the ground. Catherine stood in the doorway for a moment, taking her in. Then she moved to the chair beside the bed, sat, grabbed Sid's hand. Sid stirred, groaned, her face twisted. "Ah, fuck. What is it?" Catherine leaned closer. "My head." Sid breathed through it, squeezed Catherine's hand hard, then loosened. Catherine looked toward the door as if to call a nurse, but Sid squeezed again. "Don't. Just stay with me." The pain passed. Sid's eyes opened, found Catherine. A pause. "You idiot." Sid almost smiled. "Nice to see you too. Why the bike? You have a car." "I needed to get to you." Another wave of pain crossed Sid's face. She winced, breathed through it. Catherine's voice softened, dropped to barely a whisper. "It's okay, baby. I'm here." Sid's eyes closed, but her lips curved, just barely. "But drive." "What drive?" Sid's eyes opened again, urgent now, despite the pain. "Alexandrov. Evidence. They took it." Catherine went still. "Who told you?" Sid's eyes opened again, slowly. "It doesn't matter." Catherine's voice dropped, sharper now. "Was it Ben?" Sid didn't answer. That was answer enough. For a long moment, Catherine said nothing. Then tears came, silently, sliding down her cheeks as memories flashed behind her eyes. Sid's eyes softened. "Kath, look at me." She managed a faint smile. "I'm still here." Catherine let the words settle, her breath shaky. For a moment, she simply held Sid's gaze, tears still wet on her cheeks. Then Sid's expression tightened again, pain flickering across her face. Her voice came out weaker. "The drive, you need it. The scientist's location is on there. Lose it, and he's gone." "Don't worry about the drive," she said. She leaned down and gently threaded her fingers through Sid's hair, brushing damp strands away from her forehead with slow, careful strokes. "Rest. I'll handle it." Catherine had been back at number 10 for less than an hour when she called Calloway. "What do you have?" Calloway's voice was careful.
"We found the van, burned out in Bermondsey. Stolen plates, no driver. The case is being logged as a routine hit and run."
"No." Catherine's voice was sharp.
"It was deliberate. She was carrying classified intelligence. It was stolen from her at the scene. I want it treated as theft of government property and attempted homicide."
A pause.
"Prime Minister, without evidence—" "Then find evidence. I'll authorize whatever you need. National security clearance, additional resources. Talk to the Home Secretary. Tell him I'm invoking protocol."
She hung up before Calloway could argue. She was the most powerful woman in the country, and she was shouting into a void. The lines were open, the voices were polite, and the answers were identical. The system wasn't broken. It was working perfectly. It was protecting its own. The afternoon stretched into evening. Catherine sat in her sitting room in the residence. No lamps, just the orange glow of London's light pollution bleeding through the heavy curtains. She had spent 4 hours invoking every protocol she knew. She had called in favours, and the world had simply shrugged. "I'll take care of it," she whispered to the empty room. The words felt like ash in her mouth. She had promised Sid protection, and she couldn't even get a camera recording from a public street. She realized then that Mortimer hadn't just survived the scandal, he had built a fortress inside her own government. She was sitting in the middle of it, a prisoner in a silk blouse. The clock on the mantel ticked. Outside, the city breathed. Inside, Catherine sat with her hands folded in her lap, feeling the hollow weight of a defeat she couldn't admit to anyone. She had never felt more like a ghost. 8 p.m. The knock at the door was uneven, heavy. Catherine didn't move at first. Then she rose and opened it. Sid was there. She looked terrible. Her skin was the colour of old paper, a blue plastic hospital wristband still tight around her arm. She was leaning against the frame, breathing in shallow hitches. "Sid," Catherine breathed, moving to catch her. "What are you? You're supposed to be in observation." "I'm observing," Sid rasped. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a phone. On the screen, a map. "What is that?" Catherine whispered. "Alexandrov," Sid said. "The drive has a tracker and a hardware lock. Alexandrov has been tracking the failed login attempts." Catherine stared at the pulsing dot. The breath she'd been holding finally left her. "They didn't just steal the evidence," Sid said. "They tried to hack the code. The drive triggered a 24-hour security lockout. They're still stuck in London." Catherine's eyes sharpened. The despair that had sat on Catherine all afternoon vanished, replaced by a cold, predatory focus. "They're trapped," Catherine said. "They have the drive," Sid said, her voice dropping. "But for the next 24 hours, they have nothing, and they don't know we're watching." The silence of the room shifted. They were outside the system now. They had a night of truce and a day to prepare. Catherine looked at Sid, the exhaustion and the sheer stubborn refusal to break. The grief and the anger of the last decade seemed to pull at her all at once. "I thought I'd let you down," Catherine said, her voice cracking. "You haven't lost anything," Sid whispered. They kissed to remind themselves what was still worth fighting for. Catherine pulled back just enough to look at her. "You shouldn't have left," Catherine said softly. Sid's lips brushed against her jaw. "I needed you to make me feel better."